Uh, Hello, everybody. This is Lena Devine. It is 1600 Central European Time. We're on schedule to talk about Asgardia. I will spend now a few minutes waiting for people to get together. Ross, hi, Christina, Cha, Linda, great seeing you all, guys. It's like extended family feeling. It's really, really wonderful to have the core team immediately joining at the beginning. I know Rebecca is, of course, here. Rebecca, to answer your question, let's try to do Skype this time. Actually, I can do Skype on the same screen, and maybe it will be more efficient so I don't need to look away to read the questions. So I see that many people are connecting to us, and it's a great pleasure to see you all, guys. It's been only a couple of weeks since we spoke last. Last time it was a very, very special occasion. Those will be only happening maybe once a year, or maybe even less frequently, the launch of the satellite. I hope you are feeling the same way as I do since the launch has gone successfully. It's something we've been working towards since many months, and it's really adorably symbolic that we launched exactly 13 months after the announcement of Asgardia. We announced Asgardia, Dr. Shurbeli spoke about it on the 12th of October 2016, and the first Asgardia satellite, called Asgardia 1, was launched on the 12th of November 2017, exactly 13 months later. And like many things in life, once this has happened, it's never the same again. We are out there, and from that day on, we will always be present in space. Asgardia 1 is the symbol, but also a reality, the first sovereign territory in space of an independent space nation. Today, I understand we will be talking mostly about more earthly, one can say, affairs. Those are due to our current activities, which are the next major step, elections of the parliament and appointment of the government. Before we went that way, I'll tell a few more words about the satellite. So it is planned that cargo vehicle Cygnus, which delivered cargo to the ISS, will be staying in the attached phase for another 2 to 3 weeks. So not before 4th of December, but a bit later, within the first half of December, Cygnus vehicle with a bunch of things on board, including satellites, amongst which is Asgardia 1, will de-dock from the International Space Station and will fly into a higher orbit. And in that higher orbit, it would perform another part of its flight plan, which is the scientific task in an independent flight. And that includes deployment of Asgardia 1 satellite into free flight. That means that the satellite will be launched out of the so-called deployer rack, where it is at the moment hard fixed in the dormant mode, and it will fly into orbit. Then it would be activated. I will have to come back to you with the exact details of the activation. But basically, there is an international procedure, a so-called routine, when satellites go into space. They are programmed to beep into the world a signal which means hello world. So we are eagerly awaiting when we can receive that first recording, hello world, from Asgardia 1 satellite. It will be controlled from the center in Houston, a mini mission control center, which is in the facilities of our partners, NanoRacks, in their Houston offices. So it is through them that we will be in touch with our satellite. We will be receiving regularly the so-called health status data. So the satellite will be saying hello every now and then when it flies by. And we will have opportunities approximately every 2 weeks to upload extra data. I still will have to come back to you with the information which size of the files can be uploaded to the satellite. Please understand that, of course, uploading something onto the server in space has some physical limitations. But nevertheless, as it's always been said, we will have an opportunity to add data which you as Guardians provide via your personal profile on the asgardia.space website into the domain of the cloud and space. So that is happening Today is what? I'm totally lost, sorry, been all over the place. So today is like 5th, 26th of November. So that happens in 2 to 3 weeks. And we will have another special connection when this happens. It's also a very, very special event in our life. Now back to the business for which we have gathered today. I'm now going to switch to the list of questions which you have sent in advance, and Rebecca with the team prepared for me. And after I'm gone through that list, then I will look at other questions, which in the meantime Rebecca is reviewing and summarizing, which you are posting online while I'm talking. And as always, of course, I'm very glad to see how many of you are talking, not only listening to me, but also talking to each other. I would encourage all of you to stay in touch beyond these live events. And by watching the discussions on Facebook, which I see a lot, but only very rarely join, I have to share with you, I'm very pleased to see how the community evolves and how much connectedness and how much recognition I see is already there among the people. We truly are becoming a global community united around the goals of Asgardia. It's very heartwarming to see that everybody's hard work and passion to our common task is really starting to pay off. Thank you for all this, guys. So now let me open the document which was prepared in advance. I'll be pausing for a few seconds just to make sure I understand what's written. Okay, the first question was actually about the satellite, which kind of access we have to it. So the access you have is the same via your personal profile. Everybody in the personal profile, when you are logged in into the Asgardia page, sees what allocation of data you have on board. So this data can be still used up. It's just I still have to get back with the information, what are the sizes of the files, because this might be technically limited. And your Asgardians uploaded to the satellite. Exactly the same routine as before. It's a personal choice of each Asgardian who is entitled to be on the satellite with their chosen data. I would emphasize once again, to be sure it's very clear, it's only the data, text, picture, which you choose. It's not personal data in a sense, private data which identifies an individual. No, it's an opportunity to send something which to your liking represents you to space. And through that, you and your loved ones and whoever you take along are virtually in space. So this is a data of own choosing, and it remains exactly the same. It's a data of your own choosing, which you are welcome to place into your private allocation on board the satellite in space in low Earth orbit. I want to make sure I'm virtually in space and part of the real Asgard. Well, we are Asgardia. Asgard is something else. So yes, if you are registered with Asgardia, you have accepted the constitution, you have uploaded your files, you have filled in all the data you want to be sent, yes, you are on board with Asgardia satellite. Elections. So can you elaborate on what is being done to create a fair and secure election? Well, to be honest, I can only repeat what I've said before. And we have a team of IT programmers and mathematicians who are developing a custom-made procedure and our own secured know-how algorithm, which allows us, first of all, to verify the data of the people who apply, and secondly, to review the logs. It will be done the same way as it was done for the constitution voting. There will be a central electoral commission and there will be counting commission. I'm actually just about to get in touch with the people who have helped us with the constitutional voting and to address some of them if they would be so kind to continue supporting us in providing this independent evaluation function. So in a nutshell, our IT and mathematician group ensures that everything is done according to the state-of-the-art software protocols, and independent review committee receives the logs to which they have full access. They can ask more questions. They will provide analysis, which will then result in a detailed independent report. And the summary of this report will be provided to the Central Electoral Commission, who then will again be reviewing it and casting their judgment. And the same like in the past, it would be composed of people with relevant background. We already have a chairman who agreed to take on this role. He is an international lawyer. I will be introducing the whole committee later, so I don't want to go into the names for now. Lots of candidates are showing up on the voting page without real names or real platforms. What systems are in place to prevent this? We have a department, an internal group, who is working on monitoring how the application process is going. There is a lot of one-to-one conversation ongoing between my colleagues who are running that department and every applicant. And as you will find, all the applicants who make it really to the page where they can be voted for, they would be there with their real names. So all the rules which have been published, we are adhering to them very, very seriously. So we are only dealing with real people who post their own real program, which is a bit more elaborate than Vote for Me, under, excuse me, under their real names and their real portrait photographs. And then later there will be more checks made. But indeed, that first level of getting going to start being able to present yourself for the election, this is done within the scope of internal checks, which as a minimum guarantee that people are representing themselves with their proper personal information. What sort of financial compensation will we be able to give MPs to ensure that they can take the time to really focus on the development of the nation? Details are still to come, but it is in the planning that some kind of financial compensation will be offered. Just to maybe answer questions which are not addressed here, there will not be a requirement to relocate. So no matter where one lives, she or he will continue living in the place of own choosing. So a relocation for the purpose of Asgardia is not a requirement. All the work will be done remotely. All the work will be done via teleconferencing, via joint exchange writing. So no relocation, and accordingly no financial support for relocation because it's not a requirement. But there will be some kind of payment for the work done. So indeed people can consistently allocate certain amount of their time to doing the MP job. Will a decree be issued to officially confirm the change of minimum age for the parliamentary election? So far, I don't know if there is an intention to do so. It was maybe a consideration at some point, but so far this is not going further at this stage. Having said this, I would encourage everybody who is interested in official work in Asgardia, even if you are below the age listed on the Constitution, which means below 40, I would encourage you to go this way, presenting yourself as a candidate. Because, again, I know it's a point where I can get a lot of criticism and it will be a fair one, but the reality remains what it is. And guys, I'm always honest and transparent with you. I hope we've spoken enough for you to agree with me that this is the case. We are doing all this for the first time in human history together with you. We are doing our best. And it seems that at the moment, what is really important is that natural leaders emerge from the community. And if Parliament is one body where certain people can do a lot of good, yes, it's the case, but it does not mean that this is the only way people who are interested and motivated and want to be leaders of the community can do this good. At the moment, parliamentary election is the only platform which is supported. So by presenting yourself in the parliamentary election, everyone has an opportunity to show him or herself, and to tell about the vision, about the intentions, about the desires, how to work for Asgardia. So in a way, see it, please, as your own promotional campaign as a prospect leader of Asgardia. Parliament is not the only body where one can be playing a role for the benefit of Asgardia. So to be short and to summarize, I at the moment do not actually expect that there will be a decision to reduce the age, but at the same time, I would recommend that you take a flexible view at it and see this parliamentary self-appointment and self-promotion and collecting supporters as an opportunity just to present yourself to Asgardia, because ultimately there will be other things to do. There will be government cabinets where people will need to work. So age is not the end of the world, and parliament is very important, but not the only body which will define the future of Asgardia. Ross, I hope I answered your question. If not, we can take it offline. If the parliament do not achieve 150 members and, for example, gets only 80 people voted in by Asgardian citizen, what would happen to the rest of the 70 unoccupied seats? Let's deal with it when we get there. I see this as a very hypothetical situation, and there is no point to speculate, sorry. What will happen if there are not enough candidates running in any one district? Example, there are 20 seats for District 2. What happens if only 10 people run for District 2? It's the same question, differently worded. We'll deal with it when we get there. We will have another regular conversation towards the end of December. So by then it will be much more clear. Maybe then these questions will be obsolete, or maybe then we will talk more specifically. This is too much of a speculation, which is not making much difference at the moment. I was reading the article about the recently launched satellite and that we now have territory in space and can join the UN. However, international law states that no one nation may claim territory in space. The Declaration of Legal Principles governing the activities of states in the exploration and uses of outer space. Yes, this is actually a question which came via email, and I have asked to readdress it for the public discussion. And luckily, we have very good, serious lawyers who work with us, and when I get such serious questions, I go back asking for consultations of the lawyers. And I will take the moment, and I will, the same like I read the questions when I talk to you, I will read the answer from Ram Jahu, who is the director of Aerospace Law School at McGill University, which is a leading international institution in aerospace law. So I'm just quoting Ram Jahu, Professor Ram Jahu. First of all, the person who asks this question or raises this concern does not quote the 1963 Declaration of Legal Principles governing accurately. The full text of the declaration can be accessed at certain address. If you want, I can share the link later. Secondly, the 1967 Outer Space Treaty is more important and authoritative than this declaration, which is non-binding on nations. The treaty is binding on 107 states that have ratified it. Thirdly, the treaty, as well as the 1963 declaration, prohibits national appropriation, or in other words, ownership, but not the use of outer space, the moon, and other celestial bodies. The treaty allows, encourages, and facilitates exploration and use of outer space and celestial bodies by all countries, their private companies, and international organizations. Freedom of explorations and use of outer space is not only allowed by the declaration and the treaty, but has become a fundamental principle of international law applicable to all states. Asgardia has no intention to appropriate or own outer space, but it will be using it, as has been done for over 60 years by all spacefaring nations, their private companies, and international organizations. Asgardia's first satellite, launched today, will be the following will be following the law as well as the practice of thousands of satellites launched before. In other words, exercising its freedom of outer space. Asgardia's habitat, space station, in low Earth orbit, will not be appropriating any orbit or outer space, but will be using outer space as is being done by the International Space Station and China's Tiangong Space Station. Fourthly, Asgardia's base or colony on the Moon and other celestial bodies, including asteroids, will be simply legally based on the freedom of use of celestial bodies. Should a problem arise, appropriate international agreements will be concluded with the concerned international organizations and nations. Therefore, the Asgardia satellite which was launched is not and will not be claiming territorial space. It will be operated fully in accordance with applicable international space law. I'm going to give this text to our editors to post it as an independent news item online after this broadcast, and I am now putting the comment in the broadcast where you can refer just by clicking the link to the document where Professor Jahu is recommending to review to make sure the correct quotes are made. So next question, will Parliament be expected to form our own system for government? Parliament is expected to do what parliaments do, be a legislative body. So that's it. The question is longer, but basically that's what it is. Parliament is the body which votes for laws, defines laws. What will happen in the rare instance that we cannot find professional ministers? We will deal with it when we get there. I'm not answering tentative questions which are very premature. What does the time for the nation look like after the election for the MPs are held, give or take the next year or so? The timeline, so we hope to finalize the parliamentary elections very early next year. Then there will be appointment of the ministers. We are continuing at the moment rather informal bilateral consultations with the other states about possible bilateral recognition, and we are working towards inauguration in June on the National Day, which is 1st of Asgard, and the same as 18th of June. So our next 6 months are extremely, extremely labor intense for us and for you, I hope. An insight in policies, structural plans, and logistical information regarding the National Bank. No, that's a little bit too premature, that I have nothing to tell specifically. Website, community, and accounts. The website is still incredibly poor as a community tool, and it's impacting our ability to self-organize and collaborate. Is there any time frame, or when can we expect significant upgrades? As a digital nation, we are going to need to have access to more powerful tools. It's a fair statement. Again, if you look at realistically at the timeline of developing of major sites, I think you would agree that really big portals have grown to be what they are over the period of 4, 5, 6 years. We are 1 year old, and in terms of this website, it's about 8 months old, and it's just undergone a major upgrade. I know there have been some shortcomings, which I believe we fixed. We're getting there. Give us time. Let's learn to. We learned to walk together. Let's learn to run together. You and Head of Nation Dr. Shurbeli looked very cool with your Asgardia patches. When can we expect the store to be functional so that we can start representing our nation? Store starting and representing nation are two independent functions. You, as an Asgardian who wants to take forward the cause of Asgardia and represent Asgardia, by all means, you are welcome, and I wholeheartedly applaud any initiative when Asgardians talk about Asgardia and encourage more people to join and bring the community together. So that's one part of the question. You should have started long, long ago, the moment you decided that you are an Asgardian. In terms of the store, again, these are growing pains because the store needs to be integrated into the Asgardia.com website. Just the patches. Okay, it's possible to just produce the patches and organize just selling patches. I will discuss with Rebecca and the team if this is something they could do as a one-off initiative, if there is sufficient interest in the community. The thing is that We can only do that if we get prepaid orders, because we just did 10 of them, so we have something for the launch, basically. It was not a major effort to make a commercial item out of this. If now really there is an interest to receive the patches as a commercial item, I can look how to organize it, but only if the prepayments are made, so we know the exact amount we need to produce and ship. So I'm asking now Rebecca and the team, please, after the conversation is over, check how many people really are willing to order and prepay, and then I can make the rest of the connection so we can initiate this manufacturing for this specific pre-order if you really want to get it soon, because this can be done faster than really getting the whole store going. That will take longer, of course. But again, it's nice to know that it's wanted. So thank you for complimenting it. I personally also liked it, so I'm glad you liked it. Would there be a possibility that Asgardia will create its own email server in the future for citizens, as you are already trying to set up its own post office? Well, mail server for citizens, I can ask what our IT thinks about it. We, the people who are employed, who work for Asgardia, we have our emails at asgardia.space, but I'm not sure what is a mail server for citizens. Like Google.com is the mail server for the whole world, or Yandex, or AL, or whoever uses what. So I'm not sure what's the purpose and the function and the benefit, if anything. What steps are in place to begin the development of an official Asgardian app? I don't know, because to have an app, the app has to have a purpose. At the moment, whatever you can do on the website, you can do from any gadget. And yes, there are bugs once in a while, but we're working really hard to make sure everything is harmonized. An app is a bit of a different thing. An app you use for something more specific than just to check the website. And the way the website is done, it's an adaptive interface, so it works on any surface. I have erased my account, but the flag and the name I sent to the following address continues to be shown. This is violating my privacy. Well, when one submitted any entries for the contest, by submitting the entries, one ticked the box that I agree to rules and conditions applicable to the contest. And in these rules and conditions, it's clearly stated that by submitting this flag, you hand over the rights for unlimited use of this flag to Asgardia. So continuous publishing of the former submissions is not violating privacy. It's exactly in line with the conditions which were accepted by submitting any entry for the contest. Senior officials. Antonian Sof is asking to tell more about myself. Personally, well, to be honest, I don't know what to say, because I'm everywhere on the website. You put Lena Devin into Google, you'll find tons of things. I'm now working for Asgardia. I started my collaboration within the holding of Dr. Ashur Beli by joining IRC to work as a director of IRC at ROOM. And before that, I worked for 15 years at the European Space Agency. And then I wrote a few books about space, and I have hosted a TV show about Russia on Belgian television. Work-wise, there isn't much else to say. I have a degree in engineering, MBA, and PhD in psychology. For the rest, I have no secrets, but I have nothing particularly interesting to share professionally, so please ask if you think it's important. I've just finished a fact collecting for frequently asked questions. Thank you for that. Also, I saw we should be proliferate to important points. Dr. Igor and Lena and their colleagues' names and what do they do exactly in Asgardia and our citizens. If you go onto asgardia.space, you have plenty of information about Igor, first of all. If you go into the website, out of the top of my head, I don't know it, and the site is not open, but if you click through in the structure of the website, you find administration, and you will find that Dr. Mikhail Spokojny is the head of administration. I am deputy head of administration, and our colleague Alessia Fedorova in Moscow, she is secretary in the administration of Dr. Shurbeli. And also in terms of the company structure, if you look at the imprint or at the contact details, I'm not sure, also out of the top of my head, you will see that on Asgardia Space, it's legally affiliated with NGO Asgardia, where I am the CEO, and the contact details are there for our offices and our corporate contact details. And if you go to Asgardia Space, you will see that Dr. Mikhail Spokojny is the CEO of Asgardia AG, which runs, Asgardia.com, that he is the CEO of Asgardia AG, and he is the CEO and Managing Director of AIRC, under which umbrella this was all started. So basically, between Mikhail and myself, we are the day-to-day people in charge of running the whole set of affairs. And of course, we're in permanent close consultation with Dr. Shurbeli and his whole corporate infrastructure, who is taking care of legal, financial, human resource aspects, and the technical department, who is now elaborating further the continuous approach to what other satellites will do and how they will fly, and how this will continue into continuity, into further technical development, our goals in terms of settling in space. We have to indicate very strongly our future plans to them. So I think we will gain two positive moral. First, people will look more seriously. Secondly, we will gain more volunteers. Guys, I'm not sure what that means. Whoever wrote this, please readdress this with Rebecca, maybe summarize it in a different way, and we can take it offline. Sorry, I cannot now explain more. Citizenship. Here in my country, I can't change the name due to religion and race as written in Constitution, and it becomes a political issue. My asylum request hanging somewhere without proper resolution. I'm a controversial issue living in uncertainty. Okay, that indeed was one of the questions which came via email, and I asked to include this topic so I don't forget to address it in the joint discussion. Now, I know it's not easy, but please bear with me, I'll try to explain. We, Asgardia, are very, very serious about being legal, legitimate, transparent, and reliable. So when it comes to issuing ID cards and eventually passports, every person, at least once, will have to present him or herself in person to a respective consular department. You probably know, we discussed more than once that there will be 6 embassies as per continent, but there will be consulates which are more frequently positioned, or there may be some temporary so-called fly-in services where people can on certain dates make appointments. For the first time, to gain your ID as an Asgardian citizen, a person has to turn up and present oneself using the existing documents of the current nationality. So at this point, we can only accept people who show their documents which legitimately identify themselves. Later, there might be a procedure like there is one in many countries where the name can be legally changed within the structure and the governance of that country. But this is still some time away, because in order for this law to take place, it needs first to be developed by the parliament and voted in. So I'm not saying this cannot happen in the future, but what I'm saying that at the moment we do not have legal mechanism which would allow a citizen to really go through the entire procedure of being legitimate in Asgardia without having a document which is an authentic legal document of the country of current residence or citizenship, which carries the real name. I personally can tell you, I understand it can be very annoying because, again, in different countries, there are different situations. And I myself have this problem because, like, my full name in the passport is Yelena, but I always called myself Lena. Then people forget to write Yelena on some official documents. Then it turns out that I show my passport, it's wrong, even with such trivial things. Just believe me, when it comes to international travel, no matter how annoying the name can be, you better stick to something consistent. Because imagine this situation. You have a passport of Asgardia, and let's say it allows you to cross certain borders, but then you still have a passport of your country, which allows you to cross some other borders, and you have two different names in these passports. One because you had to in the country of origin, and the other one because you chose it in Asgardia. In which name would you buy your airline ticket? You are stuck, because if you have two different names in two different passports, it means that on one of the check-ins, you will have problems checking in, because they would want to see your passport, your ticket, they have to have the same name, and they will have to see the document which allows you to get off board the plane in the other destination. So something as silly as not being able to travel without visa benefiting from the passports of two nationalities if they have different names totally invalidates the concern that the name can be uncomfortable. Trust me, I'm living with this for many, many years. So at the moment, I know it was important to talk about it, but there where it is. At stage one, down to earth. Today, we can only deal with officially issued documents. Then the future will tell where we evolve. Some basic understanding of Asgardia's status is getting lost in translation. Some concept of Asgardia's status versus its goals is not clear to some citizens. In my opinion, if even one person hopes to escape their national troubles by petitioning to Asgardia for asylum or relief, if it is cruel to them, then labor under delusion. Please consider clearly saying that Asgardia is a social experiment. Absolutely not. Asgardia is not a social experiment. I'm mightily disappointed to read this from you, Steve. A philosophical goal. Asgardia sets philosophical goals in order to define its vision. It's not just a philosophical goal. We desire diplomatic relations with the countries on Earth, indeed, and we're working on establishing them, but do not have it yet. Correct, we do not have it yet. Like until 3 weeks ago, we did not have a satellite in space, and now we do. We desire to have passports and government structures recognized by other nations. Correct, but we do not yet have this. That is correct. Asgardia exists in our community. Asgardia exists amongst other things in our community. Asgardia also exists as several legal entities, and Asgardia exists by far beyond our community, because I believe here when one says community, it's meant the group of people who are now listening to me, and then we'll go further and include more Asgardians into the conversation. So Asgardia certainly exists by far beyond the community, because we in the top management of Asgardia certainly are working hard, very long hours, in order to make sure that it exists in the political and scientific scene throughout the world. We have goals of philanthropy, of philosophy, technology, and space science. Again, I don't know where you get this, to put the goals of philanthropy on the first place. No, I don't know where this comes from. It certainly has not been stated in any concepts which were published. Philosophy. Again, philosophy is not a goal. Philosophical part is the first part which defines Asgardia, because the time has come. The life has matured to the extent that philosophical premise is such that it's time to do something transcending the human borders, human prejudices, human differences, and unite them through space, which is only natural because space is above it all. Technology and space science, yes, it's the third. So first is philosophy, second is legality, to avoid the Wild West situation and arms race in space. And space, technology, and science, yes, as part of the progressive development of protecting Earth. We desire to share knowledge and wisdom to improve humanity. Again, yes, we do, so does every decent human being who has something useful to share. We walk the path to those goals slowly and carefully. Well, like every intelligent, mature person or group of people who actually is responsible for what they are doing. So, Steve, I'm not sure what was really the meaning of this statement, so yes, I can reiterate. Asgardia does not interfere into earthly problems. In simple terms, I can give a bottom-up example. Some months ago, I had an email from Somebody in Germany saying that there is so much upheaval in the streets. I can't wait for Asgardia to have their own police force so I can stop complaining to German police because they're not helping me, so Asgardia can come and help me. No, Asgardia does not interfere into earthly affairs. So if there is an upheaval in your German street, you still have to deal with the German police. You are not escaping own country by joining Asgardia. You are subject to the laws and the infrastructures of the country of residence. So this was the end of the questions which were sent in advance. Now let me see what was written to me in the meantime. 1 second. Question: I want to know how Satellite 2 will be made again. Well, I will tell you more when we are more prepared. We are looking to test some data exchange protocols in space in order to have some cloud storage, part of the cloud storage in space, because by placing something in space, you provide more security in the protocol of crypto protection. Has Asgardia considered an investment in space mining and manufacturing as a main source of GDP? No, we have not considered investment into space mining. We are not investing into anything on purpose. We potentially will be offering grants to startups, like on the seed level, but that's supporting startups. That's not investing big time. How Asgardia will bring human colonies who become citizens of Asgardia into space later. By spacecraft, which by then time will be developed, guys. This is some years away. Believe me, the moment I know something, it will be a source of my monologue, not the reason for your questions. Why is Asgardia setting up the same failed system as Earth rather than using intelligent design to eliminate the need for such system like monetary system, corruptible government system, class system? I don't know why you say that Asgardia is setting up the same system. Asgardia is setting up a system which is democratically running the state, and so far, I believe it's Churchill's quote that democracy might not be the best thing, but nobody invented anything better. But in terms of monetary system, we are setting up cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency so far is the only thing which is not corruptible, because blockchain technology guarantees distribution of the codes which are providing for impossibility to fiddle with them. They cannot be fraudulent. So I don't know where you get this from. Why are you allowing capitalism? It will create class, system, poverty, corruption. There are ways to avoid it completely. I was born in the USSR, and they tried since 1917 to avoid this completely. Trust me, I don't know what's the country of origin of a person who asked this question, and if you are talking from experience, with all due respect, I am talking from experience. There is a reality, there is an economy, there is a need to eat and to progress. What will be the first task? Okay, now Rebecca is telling me that I'm reading questions from a wrong stream. Okay, guys, it's forgivable for me to be an idiot. Let me redo this. What will be the first task of the parliament? Again, give me another month to get there. First is the task to create the parliament. What is the limit of Asgardia's population, and if it exceeds the limit, what will be priority? Again, that will be a luxury question. We'll deal with that when we get there. We are nowhere near the considered limit of Asgardian population. How is the new age considered legal then? If the constitution says above 40, then how can we be taken seriously if we can't even confirm that people below then can become an MP. If they're at least 34, 35, they won't be able to get re-elected. This doesn't make sense. Again, guys, we are learning by doing. It's the first time ever something is happening. And for now, the situation is what it is. So, like, I can only repeat what I said before. If you want to have a prominent role in Asgardia, for now, present yourself as a candidate. Position yourself, express your program, express your agenda, express your opinion, get support, get known, get to know the community. Let things happen. I know it's frustrating, I know it's annoying, I know you can say that we should have thought through this better. I agree with you. We are also learning by doing, and some things are only learnable by experiencing it. So please just go along with this. It's the best I can do at the moment. Again, I'm honest and I'm transparent. I don't know answers to all questions. That's the best I recommend. You feel passionately, you want to be involved, you want to be strongly committed, you want to be known, you want to take people forward. Position yourself as a prospect parliamentarian. If then you cannot be a parliamentarian, but you can have another role in Asgardia, you already are known in the community. Election of candidates for deputies of parliament. The question is, family members who are registered by citizens and have voted for their relatives accordingly, there will be claims how to prevent them. I'm not sure I understood the question. Is it allowed to vote for your family member to the parliament? Yes. If you happen to be a family member of a British Prime Minister, you can go and vote for the British Prime Minister. Again, I may be saying something without thinking through. Out of the top of my head, I might be getting wrong what's the voting system. But yes, you vote for whom you vote. I don't understand the question. Official statements regarding that accusation. I read that Asgardia breaks the space treaty. I have answered this question in detail about 15 minutes ago. Start year to discuss our nation in UN. We hope next year. How can we invest in solar when it will be available? Next year, hopefully first half of the next year, and there certainly will be plenty of information coming. We will be very interested in having all of you getting very intimately involved with this opportunity. When do you think Asgardia ready live on? As I think Earth facing problems and huge earthquakes happening during last 10 days. I'm not sure, again, I entirely understand. If you mean when will be the space settlement ready to receive the visitors, this is still some years away, of course. And again, we are cautious optimists. It's better to have preventive opportunities than emergency escapes. So, as Dr. Shurbeli stated on numerous occasions, Asgardia potentially is a rescue platform in case of calamities on Earth, but of course, deep in our hearts, we hope that Earth will get some sense into it, and that Earthlings maintain their planet and survive, while Asgardia becomes a favorite tourist destination for people on Earth. When we get all valid passport and ID, that's an iterative process, because just issuing a plastic card, which is fancy and protected, is not a big deal. It's a question of hardware, so to speak. The real question is, what can this card allow you? And we are looking to make sure that this card allows all your operations within Asgardia at least. So once the banking system is up and running, your ID card will also be the key for you to operate your bank access. Remember, we discussed that from the very beginning. When you filled in your second level verification, you got a very long number, which we asked you not to publish. This is because it is your ID number which will allow you to get all your financial and administrative transactions inside Asgardia. Yes, it will only start happening once we have any of this actually up and running. So issuing the card is not difficult. just making sure it's attached to the services which are functional. That's really where the question is. And we will do it consistently. So once we are ready with solar and with providing services in solars, then the card will be necessary as a minimum to start financial operations. In terms of traveling, that will take time. We have to have agreements with the countries which would recognize these IDs. It will take time. It will require a lot of work on our side. Bear with us. It never goes fast, but once it's done, it will be there. The same like it took us 13 months to launch the satellite, but we promised it, we did it, it's there. When we start building our spaceship, well, first of all, spaceship will be built by professionals. And I don't know if we build the spaceship or only the space ark, because I hope you understand there is a difference, because you need to fly to space and you need to live in space. I can tell you with the example of the International Space Station. It is a permanent habitable platform in space. But to fly there, at the moment, it's only possible with the Russian Soyuz vehicle. So it's a launcher, which is called Soyuz, and it's a capsule, manned capsule, which is called Soyuz also. But for example, the same Soyuz launcher, the spacecraft, it launches Progress vehicle, which is a cargo vehicle. Just in case of the human launch, they happen to have the same name. So when we talk about the spaceship, first of all, let's be clear. We are not necessarily looking to develop an own launch capability. We are looking, first of all, to develop the possibility of being settled in space. So what Dr. Shurbeli calls space arc. How we get there, it's a question of the technology, the way it evolves. Why isn't there leader elections anymore? Again, it's a natural evolution. We're learning by doing. I'll emphasize it again. Thank you for bearing with us, because we're progressing together, observing how the community and the society evolves. It's naturally progressed in such a direction that it makes most sense to refocus all the elections now onto the parliamentary elections. We're just making the best out of turning what already has been done into what still needs making. On the parliamentary election main page describing the processes to follow to become a candidate, it is said that there will be a language test. Please share more details about it, like date and method used. Date, certainly, I don't know. The language test, as in the parliament is formed on the basis of the proportionate representation of the languages. The languages are those which people themselves selected when they filled in their profile. For example, pretty much all the people in Scandinavia chose English, which is their free choice, and it's a very practical choice, which I totally understand. So for a person to be a potential candidate or to be a voter in a region, clearly the person needs to communicate in that language. So the person who presents oneself into the language district needs to be sure that she or he can function and fulfill professional tasks in this language. So if I were to position myself, I'm in administration and I'm not running for any positions, it's just easier to explain with the example. If I were to position myself as a candidate for English language, then what I will have to do is to talk to an independent group of people who are, I'm not native English speaker, obviously, yeah? So I would have to talk to a group of independent 2-3 people who are native speakers, who simply will have a general conversation with me in this language to make sure that I can function in English language professionally. That's what it is about. Because certain languages we can do inside our team, which is straightforward, but some other languages we can't. So we will be looking then for professionals, native speakers, preferably linguists, from within community, who simply are, as native speakers, are able to help us evaluate if the person is speaking natively or fluently in that language. And that will be, of course, a bit later when it's clear that parliamentary candidates have gone that far. I cannot tell the date. It probably will be next year. If I make any modifications in my platform to make it more elaborate and detailed, will it go again for review and approval? If yes, will I lose all my existing votes? This is an excellent question, and Rebecca, please email this question to me, and I will have to get back on this one. It shouldn't, but I want to be 100% sure. Will current members be considered citizens, or is it only first 100,000? Everybody who until now have voted in support of Constitution, adopted the Constitution, are citizens, well, the moment we are able to provide IDs and passports. The first 100,000, more or less 100,000, those who have adopted the Constitution by the time the constitutional voting was closed, those are the golden 100,000 who will remain such, and we will maintain certain benefits, well, in a way, symbolic benefits to those what you call golden 100,000. But so far, it is continued that those who join Asgardia and adopt the Constitution, they are considered citizens, so they have the same rights by the time we are in the position to grant citizenship, which has some tangible meaning and benefits. Potential locations of Asgardian embassies in North America, where would it be? I don't know. Too soon. Will Asgardia currency be crypto or hard? Please read the Constitution. It's called Solar, and it's a cryptocurrency. How long it takes to become a true space nation? Guys, we can have a 5-hour discussion. What does it mean to become a true space nation? I can tell you my view, and then I'm sure there will be as valid view, which is totally opposite to mine. Because first of all, what is the truth? Yeah. If 3 people come together and say we are now the nation, actually there is no law to prevent them from saying so. If you feel that we're the space nation, we are the space nation. There is no legal definition of space nation. Do you consider it necessary that you physically fly above 100 kilometers above Earth in your body as a human being traveling on board a spacecraft? Okay, then you can say never, because I personally don't think that in my lifetime I get to go to space physically, nor, to be honest, would I want to, because I don't feel fit enough physically for that. But I still think that we belong to the space nation, because like in any nation, some people do this work or the other work, and it's only the combined effort, this synergetic effect, which makes the nation work. So to my mind, we are a true space nation, as long as it's how we feel in our unitedness and in our togetherness and in our shared belief and goals. But again, I'm good in being philosophical, so if there is a demand in discussing philosophical issues, let's make a separate appointment and talk philosophy. I will thoroughly enjoy it, provided it's interesting for people who share in the conversation. How long will the interview process take place after the election? I'm not sure which interview process you refer to. There will be elections as in voting for the parliament. It will be the voting. It will not be an interview. It will be necessary, first of all, to review the results of the voting. And then on the basis of those calculations, it will be clear how things are taken further. Again, this is a very good question, but it's a bit too premature. I would say it's for end December or maybe even for end January. Do we have any military or law enforcement forces in Asgardia? We will have security forces, which is a little bit different, because of course we're a digital nation, we need cyber security, which is, again, you can say it's law enforcement, because a lot of crime this day and age, unfortunately, is done in digital space. So in that sense, yes, we will have inner security, and that would result in self-protection. What are the milestones we want to reach for the next year? Do you have an outlined plan? Well, we discussed this. We will need to elect the parliament. We will need to appoint the government. We will need to start operating. We are working towards inauguration on the 1st of Asgard, which is 18th of June on Gregorian calendar. We will be attending several events where we as Asgardia will be present and talking to different states and different communities. I attend several closed events, high-level networking events, where I present Asgardia also to different communities. So all this is a work in progress. Can someone be elected to parliament and hold another position in the government? No, that doesn't work like that. You're either a parliamentarian, which is one line of power, or you're in the government, which is an executive line of power. You don't yourself define the laws which you are tasked to implement. But again, I would strongly recommend everybody who wants to work in the government, nevertheless, to present themselves as a parliamentarian candidate, because this is now basically a mechanism to become known. Please just go ahead. I know it's not perfect. I understand which shortcomings can be associated with it. I know myself all the critical questions to ask at this point. Just please take my word for it. It will be better to use parliamentary nomination mechanism now to present yourself and to make your point that you are committed to work within the scope of Asgardia. Please go ahead and nominate yourself. Will hierarchies among citizens be created based on the amount of money and time spent on this project, or are all citizens considered equal? Honestly, I'm stunned to read a question like this. I hope it comes from a person who recently joined and missed all our earlier discussions, verbal and in writing. Asgardia sees no difference. She has no prejudice. Everybody is welcome. Everybody is equal. Then, how the person decides to live own life and in which economy to participate and in which activities to take place, that's a decision of the person, and accordingly the person builds own life inside Asgardia. But by entering Asgardia, of course, everybody is equal. And most importantly, as it's been announced from the very beginning, one of the big goals of Asgardia, which is mind-changing in philosophical and ideological sense, is that Asgardia is looking to provide equal access to space in terms of research opportunities to all countries on Earth. At the moment, it's about 20 countries which have direct access to space, and it's the researchers from that countries, technologists, engineers, who are having, first of all, primarily access to research in space. But there are many more talented scientists throughout the world, and Asgardia is looking to take forward the best science, no matter what is the country of the region of the prospect scientist. So actually, thank you for asking. I didn't realize there was still so much misconception on this subject in the community. I hope now it's cleared. Can I establish a university? Well, define establish, because if you are a standalone person with resources to finance it, to hire the staff, to provide the curriculum, and you want to do it in the scope of Asgardia, we certainly are happy to look at it as a joint activity. If you are asking, can I establish university, as in, I know how to do it, but give me 100% of the funding and the staff, we don't have the budget for this at the moment. So we welcome collaborative projects, which are good for Asgardia, if it is, well, in a way, public partnership, private-public partnership. If we establish something ourselves, that's another matter. So far, we have not budgeted for establishing university, but it sure is a necessary thing in the long-term plan. What is the symbol of solar? Great question. We don't have it. Why don't we run a contest? What should be a symbol of a solar? My candidacy was removed because the platform was not big enough. Is it fair to remove because I do not talk too much or do action more being straight shooters, not political enough? I cannot judge. Of course, I don't know what was written in the text which was removed. I'm sure that you were contacted by my colleague who runs the email elections@asgardia.space. So please write there again. I'm sure she will give you an answer. I have not seen specific questions which were specific profiles which were deleted, but I certainly am aware that certain profiles have been deleted basically because there have been candidates who have written, "I'm the best, vote for me." Yes, I would have deleted that as well, because "I'm for all good and against all bad" is not a platform. Sorry, try to run for parliament in the country where you live with the platform "vote for me" and see how far you get. We're serious about what we're doing. What are the immediate problems faced by Asgardia in the UN to achieve the national status, and how are these issues being addressed? There are no problems. It's a gradual process. There is no such thing as being given a status of a state. It's not like you go to UN with a set of ticked boxes in a checklist and they have to give it to you because you just meet certain criteria. It doesn't work like this. It's an iterative process, and it's worked from various directions. So one of the directions is creating a file which will be brought to UN, and another part of this work is bilateral discussion with different countries, because it takes work on bilateral level to be recognized by countries individual. It's not a black and white situation, and it's a step at a time. We're building up this situation. It's not linear. And as it was said from the beginning, all ages will be eligible, and now there is admin saying that it will limit the ages. What do you say to this? I'm afraid I don't understand which subject we're talking about. We always said that people starting 18 are welcome to join themselves, because it's in most countries it's the age where a person is considered a grown-up in the position to take independent decisions. For the people under 18, in the application form, it's necessary that the parent ticks the box that the parent agrees for the dependent youngster to join Asgardia. That remains the case. And for the rest, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never said anything else, and I certainly have never seen anything else written. What are the long-term goals of Asgardia? Terraforming Mars. First of all, I have no idea what does it mean, terraforming Mars. Dr. Shurbeli defines his goals as space arcs in low Earth orbit and settlement in the moon. He's a system engineer by original training, and as he always said, he likes setting goals which he can see through in his lifetime. So he already said it on several occasions. I can only reiterate, his personal plan is to fly to the moon physically himself in his lifetime. So that's what we're settling for. We set realistic goals and we see them work. And somebody will explain to me later what is terraforming Mars. I have never heard this word before. In every country on Earth, there are big media campaign filming candidates casting their ballot. In our current elections, on the parliamentary candidates page, it is written, "You cannot vote in the parliamentary election because you are a parliamentary candidate." Candidates are citizens of Asgardia. Why don't they have the right to cast a vote like other citizens? Excellent question. Rebecca, please copy it for me into an email. I don't know the answer, but it certainly needs looking into. Where is Mir space station now? On the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. Mir station was taken down in 1998, I believe. I was working at the time in the European Space Agency. I was in the mission control on that day. It was a very sensitive moment because I worked on some Mir missions, and of course it's a lifetime. It's the first station it was launched on the 20th of February 1986 for the intended lifetime of 5 years, and it worked for 15 years. And at the time, it was still the kind of Cold War on the way out, but in the late 70s, early 90s, it was discussed that the Western partners would build a station, which they were calling Freedom at the time. Russians were considering building Mir 2. Nobody had enough money. Then the Berlin Wall collapsed, and then it all made sense to collaborate because, of course, the amount of know-how and technology available in the Russian space industry is overwhelming, and the amount of money the Western partners have spent on participating in NASA Mir program, it's a fraction of a price than what it would have taken them to develop the same technology of long-term human flights on their own. So Mir station was deorbited in a particular way. In general, when something is deorbited, it's done in such a way that it burns in the thick layers of the atmosphere. But just in case something doesn't burn, the orbital trajectory is calculated in such a way that it falls into the ocean, and specifically in advance, prior to the intended deorbit, they check that no naval ship is in that region. So like any cargo vehicle, because you see the purpose of the cargo vehicle is first to bring cargo up and then to bring garbage down. There is no way to throw away garbage in space station. You put it into the containers, and then when the cargo vehicle is docked, you first take out everything what is useful, which is food, clothes, scientific experiment, water, whatever else can be resupplies, Christmas gifts from home. You get also extra propellant because there is so-called drag. So even though it's weightlessness, it's for a reason it's called microgravity. There are some disturbances in weightlessness. So it loses orbit. So there is propellant for what is called reboost maneuver to make sure the space station stays on the same altitude. But on the way back, everything which is garbage is put into the cargo vehicle. It's dedocked against velocity vector. It flies out under such conditions. Then in its re-entrance into atmosphere, it burns in the upper layers of the atmosphere, but there is always a chance that something falls down, and it's done in such a way that it falls in the ocean, and it is not hitting anything just in case. Actually, we've been talking now for over an hour, guys, but it's been fascinating, so thank you for staying with me. It's a very interesting conversation. I can tell you an anecdotal thing about Mir Station, and then we'll start rounding it off. One company, whose name I'm not going to name now because I don't want to offer free advertising for them, but they did a very clever ambush advertising campaign on the dedocking of Mir Station, because it's known, like for space industry, it's laughable, but as a market-looking person, I admired the move. It's clear that the calculation of the orbit is done in such way that it falls somewhere very deep in the middle of the ocean where nobody can possibly be, plus all the naval ships are very, very far away. But one company, consumer good company, they have made a 100 meter by 100 meter, so a square target, like when you shoot bullets, eyeball target. They have stretched it like 1 kilometer or maybe even less, half kilometer off the shore of Australia. They stretched it, and they ran a campaign saying that if any piece of Mir Station hits the target, we will give one item of our product to every person on Earth. There was no chance in the world that anything will fall 1 kilometer off the shore of Australia, but with this campaign, they made it to God knows where. I've seen it on CNN. That was the smartest ambush campaign I've seen in my life, and that was 1998, when nobody heard of YouTube and viral media and whatever, and that was the viralest intelligent media I've ever seen. Still admire it. But okay, my ancient anecdotes aside, Mir Station is deep on the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. If I'm an Asgardian citizen, what kind of duties will I have? Please read the website, read the Constitution. You are supposed to adhere to the Constitution and then abide by the laws which will be developed by the Parliament. Has there been talk about implementing mandatory community service, like all Asgardian citizens who turn 18 would be required to provide service for Asgardia to learn about themselves and what they want to do? Never thought of this. Can't think out of anything out of the top of my head now, but it looks like an interesting initiative. So whoever wrote this, please elaborate this subject. This actually looks like a constructive petition. I have to say that petitions we're receiving so far are mostly telling us that we're doing everything wrong and let's change everything. And most of them are not meeting the requirements of forming the petitions either. But nevertheless, this looks like a constructive proposal. So form it into a petition, propose to make certain services within Asgardia for the community, for the youngsters in the community. See how the community reacts. Discuss this. Turn it into a matter of public inquiry. It's a very interesting subject to discuss. Not only what can Asgardia do for you, but what can you do for Asgardia. Great idea, but no immediate comment. How will the internet rules work on Asgardia? I mean restrictions. What can we or cannot do? It's like how it is in America, where we can generally view anything. You are now all connected to internet from wherever you are sitting in your host country. We are not intending to overrule the rules of the country where you are residing. You have to, it's like if you're in America, you have your 110 volts. And if you're in Europe, you have 220, and if you're in England, they have a wrong power socket. So it's not something what Asgardia provides, it's what your place of residence provides. When the first settlements on Earth will start being built, and how many Asgardians can them allow? We are not talking about settlements on Earth. We are talking about what we call localities. It's not about something being built necessarily. For example, we might potentially have an own launch site. That would be a locality. Trust me, you don't want to live in a launch site, but it probably might be an Asgardian territory. So I think there is a misunderstanding of the term settlement versus term locality. Settlement is on the moon. Dr. Shurbeli has plans for Asgardia, but what if one who will replace him has different plans? It's a free world, it's democracy. I'm sure Mr. Trump has different plans than Mr. Obama had. What would happen then? Do we still honor Dr. Shurbeli's plans or follow the new one? History will tell. You are the population of a free nation, which is the first in world history. What to do? What to build a space station will need to bring a huge amount of cargo to orbit. This is very expensive. Where the money will come from? Well, again, of course, building a space station requires funding. We're building out the whole space nation of Asgardia, which will run its own economy. And within that economy, there will be allocated budgets to deal with various developments, including space and technology development. Of the questions which are now written to me from live broadcast, I can see that we're running out. We've been talking now for over an hour. I see a comment from somebody. How do I... what will be the first task of the parliament? Guys, we are going in circles. I already have seen this question. First, let's elect the parliament. The task of the parliament is to organize its own work, to make sure that the infrastructure is up and running, so the parliament learns to operate it and start developing the laws as the parliament should. I am legally 18, but now I haven't any national ID of my country, so can I be parliament election? No, please read the constitution. Members of the parliament are people who are not younger than 40 years of age. So if you want to be a leader within Asgardian community, first of all, read the constitution, because in order to lead the community, you need to know the fundamental law by which it is formed and run. And then just use this election in order to present yourself to the community, so people start recognizing you, people start appreciating your intentions and your role. And then there is a good chance that there are tasks to be done which are beyond particularly working as an MP. I emphasize it again. I know it might sound not very obvious. Please run for the parliament if you are sure you want to have a role in Asgardia. But please be realistic. Most probably, under the age of 40, you will not be a member of parliament because it's against the constitution. But this will give you an opportunity to present yourself, to be known by the community, and it will give you a good opportunity to have other tasks within the scope of work of the parliament and the government, which still will be plenty and would require good, talented, committed, interested people. So I can see that the questions are running out. It's been a very good talk, guys. Thank you very much for staying with me for such a long time. I think we broke all our records. It's 17:21 on my clock in Europe. We started on time at 4 Central European time. Rebecca will email me a couple of questions which I mentioned I need to take further for internal review, which I will do, and then we'll see how do we publish the answer to make sure that everybody who watched today get this information. And okay, let me see just one last time where the questions are coming. And if there is more. No, I don't see any new questions. So we discussed pretty much everything. Okay, Rebecca is still writing something for me. Just hold on 1 second. Why lower age for parliament if they cannot be in parliament? Now, again, the lowest age is defined by the constitution, and starting from that age, people can be in parliament. It's for a reason that certain jobs people can do only with certain level of life experience and maturity. This is typical, and again, it's best practices in countries throughout the world. Things we do, we not only invent things, but we also learn from best experiences. So the lowest age defined as in the age by which typically it is known and exercised in many countries that certain experience is needed to be in certain positions in order to be sure that the work is done properly with a lot of responsibility and comprehension. Sometimes just brilliant education is not good enough to do a brilliant job. You need education and experience. And that's the reason how it is defined in the Constitution. On the website, they opened it to all ages, as in, yes, you can post your position. In the website, they opened to all ages, exactly in line with what I have explained. If you want to have a leadership role inside Asgardia, please use parliamentary election as the tool to present yourself to the community. Because at the moment, this is the only way we have, which is consistent, it is streamlined, it is visible to everybody, it provides equal opportunities for being noticed. So on the website, please use positioning yourself as a candidate within this structure if you want to be known and present yourself to people as a prospect leader, prospect person in a leading role, whatever it might be, in an official role, whatever it might be, in the Asgardian world. It's just Parliament is only one of the bodies which will have a leading role in Asgardia. And parliamentary elections at the moment is the only working mechanism which we have available in order to allow people present themselves and take their ideas forward. It's the truth, guys. I see negative smileys about it, so it's how things are. What can I say? You can summarize your dissatisfaction. It's a free world. I'm telling you the truth. Correct. It says on the website you must be 18 or older and have accepted the Constitution of Asgardia to nominate yourself to become a member of parliament. Correct. And I'm explaining to you what this means. This means that this is the mechanism of presenting yourself as a candidate which potentially can have a leading role within the structures of Asgardia. Elections of the parliament at the moment are the only mechanism available to present yourself to the community, and we encourage you to use this mechanism to make yourself known. I hope this is now more clear. Do I get... Rebecca, please drop me a line somewhere if I should expect any more comments or questions. Okay, so I see that today's conversation is naturally coming to an end. I have 2 or 3 questions I have taken offline. I see that there are more questions about age limit. I have said everything I have to say on this subject. I have nothing to add. I believe I have said it at least 7 times in different ways. If you don't like what you hear, okay, I appreciate your opinion. I cannot do anything about that. So that's where we stand today. If something change, which may be the case, I don't know. We are learning by doing, we are growing together. Some decisions are being adapted in course of the public debate. Those of you who are with us since quite some time know that, for example, we were convinced at the beginning that the currency will be called Gore, and then through the public debate, it was decided that the name Solar is very much appreciated by the community. So it's now constitutionally legalized that currency is called Solar. There have been other examples of how public debate has affected what is done in development of Asgardia. Today I'm telling you things as they stand. And sorry if you don't like it, but again, I'm here to tell you the truth. I believe we've spoken enough times for you to know that I'm very transparent and I'm very honest. When I don't know the answer, I say so. When I take questions for further review, I do my best to come back with the answers. It's exactly what I did today. I knew it would not be an easy conversation. So thank you for taking all the time and staying with me, even though maybe you not always liked what I had to tell you. I'm looking forward to talking to you again, hopefully sooner than in a month, because I hope that the deployment of Asgardia 1 satellite will happen before middle of December, and that would be a brilliant opportunity for an unscheduled, brief celebratory talk where we can again congratulate each other on the progress we've made so far, because actually, girls and guys, if you look back at this past 13 months, what we achieved together is quite incredible. And it's only thanks to you and to the fact that you chose for Asgardia, that you stay with Asgardia, that you take part in Asgardia, that you bring your friends to Asgardia and take Asgardia with you into your earthly life. It's only thanks to that it is all going forward. So I thank you all very much for doing this. And goodbye, and we'll be in touch and we talk soon. And thank you all very much for all your time and the patience of staying with us and listening to me for the whole 1.5 hours this time. Bye.